So today we're going to be talking about how to write an equation, a linear equation when you are given 2 points. And we're going to use our geometry knowledge, knowing that between 2 points we can create a line. And that line can be represented by a linear equation. So to help us get started with that, we're going to look at a kind of real world scenario to help us visualize what's going on. So in this task, we need to design a ski lift that goes from the bottom of the mountain to the top in a straight line. What slope must the ski lift have? Okay, so that's our goal, is what slope. Our surveyors have already made distance and altitude measurements to help you. So they've already marked how far and high each point that is important to us is. So let's check it out here. Here we go. So we've got our little coordinate system that the surveyors have made up for us. Looks like the lake down here is where the origin is. And then we're counting in hundreds of feet from the lake. Okay? So here we have 2 and 3. So we can call this point 2, 3. So 200 feet from the lake, 300 feet above. And up here at the top of our mountain is, we count down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 15 tall, okay? So we're gonna get the point 10, 15. So 1,000 feet from the lake and 1,500 feet above it. And between the 2 points is where the skiers ski. And we're gonna make our lift the straight line between these 2 points. All right? So imagine that that is our straight line. Now, to find the slope, we need to know the difference between the y values, 15 and 3, and the x values, 10 and 2. We need to find the change. The change is what the slope is. It's the change between the starting point and the ending point. So from our previous algebra knowledge, we've learned rise over run, right? Okay, and what that translates to is just this symbol of the triangle. That means change in y over change in x. So change, we're changing from, in our y values, 3 to 15. So we can take the difference between those points to find how much it changed. Same for x's, from 2 to 10. So we can find how much those values changed. All right, 15 minus 3 is 12, 10 minus 2 is 8. Awesome. We notice, oops, that reduces. We can take out a 4, so if we divide the top by 4, we get 3. Divide the bottom by 8, we get 2. And this is our change. Our rise over run, up 3 over 2. Okay? Now in math, if we remember, mathematicians have decided to call this rate of change or slope the letter m. So anytime you see an m and you're dealing with linear equations, you know that's going to mean what your slope is. All right? So we've answered the question what the slope is. All right? We got 3 over 2. We're going up 300 feet for every 200 feet we travel from the lake. Right? Up 300 over 200. So with that information, what we can do is write an equation in this coordinate system that can represent this line, that can represent where our ski lift is going to go. So we can use our point slope form. Now, to represent this, we're going to start with a y, and we're going to subtract a y value of any point on the line. Okay, so we have our line here, and right at the moment, we know of 2 points that are on it, 2, 3, and 10, 15. So I'm gonna use the smaller numbers because they're easier to use most of the time. All right, so the y value for this point is 3. I'm gonna set that equal to m, which in this case is 3/2. Add our little parentheses here. To show we're going to multiply that by our variable x, and this time we're going to take away the x value of the point we used earlier. So since we used a 3 here, we're going to have to use a 2 here, okay? So the point 2, 3 is represented in this equation. Awesome. So this is the equation of our line. Now, it doesn't look like we always see our standard form of equations. So to transform this equation to be in y equals mx plus b form, all we need to do is use our algebra skills to isolate our y variable on the left side. Okay? The first thing I notice we can do is distribute the 3/2 to the x and the -2. So we can multiply 3/2 times x, and when we take 3/2 times a -2, this 2 is going to be in the numerator, and it's going to cancel with this 2 in the denominator. Alright, so that's going to end up being a plain old -3. Perfect. Okay, now looks like we have a -3 on both sides of our equation, so we can add 3 on both sides. And that's going to give us the beautiful result that y is equal to just 3/2 x. Because we added 3, and this becomes a 0 on both sides, and y equals 3/2 x is what is left over. So we can check this by plugging in our points, right? So if I plug in 2 for x, I should get 3 for y. So let's plug in 2 where our x is. So if I put 2 here, right, I'll just show the example. Okay? If I put in 2, what's our y value? Y equals 3/2 times 2. Oops, our 2's are going to cancel, and y equals 3. And that's what we should have gotten. Now, does it work for 10, 15? Well, let's see. Even though we didn't use 10, 15 to make the equation, does it work? Well, let's plug in 10 and see if we get 15. So y is equal to 3/2 times 10. Alright, what is 10 divided by 2? It's going to be 5, so we have 3 times 5 left over. 3 times 5 gives us our 15, just like it should have. Alright, so this is the basics of how to create your linear equation with only 2 points. So you don't even need an example or a situation to be able to do this. Watch, I can give you any 2 points. I can say use the points 7, -2, and 1, 3, and say write an equation, a linear equation for the line that goes through these 2 points. I just use our formula, y minus, let's see. Let's start with this point. Y minus our y value with 1, 3 is 3, is equal to m, our slope, times x minus 1. Cool? Now, our problem is we haven't found m yet. Well, if we remember, m is equal to change in y over change in x. So, I can take our change in y. Let's start with this one. We can do 3 minus -2. And then we'll do 1 minus 7. So 3 minus double negative here gives us a plus, so 3 plus 2 is 5. 1 minus 7 is -6. And I can put the negative on top. Okay? So our m is equal to -5/6. So now we can only replace our m down here with -5/6. And bam. We've got our new linear equation that represents a line that goes through those 2 points. Alright? And we can use our algebraic skills that we used in the last problem to distribute and get our y by itself, so it is in y equals mx plus b form. And that is the basics of how you write a linear equation given 2 points.